Hi, it's Andrew from Broster Buchanan, and today I'm here with Miles to discuss some recruitment and his move. If you want to introduce yourself, Miles?
Hi, so I'm Miles. I am a legal sector senior / part-time audit senior for a top 30 firm. Almost finished my training I finished my training contract and I've got one exam left until I'm qualified.
Oh, fantastic.
Thank you.
Obviously, in terms of recruitment, I worked with you in your move from your previous firm to where you are. So
Yes.
Sorry if, as you probably aware, I'll know the answers to these questions, but for the sake of people watching, why did you decide to move from your previous firm?
It was a mixture of things. The main reason was that I had a number of exam fails, and my previous firm, being a top 10 firm, had the sort of bog standard policy of if you fail 2, then you're out. They were quite lenient on me and fair, and they let me get away with more than 2 fails. But then after a certain point, they just turned around and went, no, actually, that's it. You've had enough fails. So it was the time for me to start looking elsewhere. Personally, I kind of didn't like the way the firm was going. It felt like top 10 firms are moving towards this, you're a cog in a machine. And I felt that moving somewhere a bit smaller than that would make me feel like more of an individual in the firm.
Okay. And obviously you've moved now. How are you finding where you are?
Absolutely love where I am. It's much more, you're an individual. They put time and effort in. There's a lot more support. So I found at my previous firm that there was a lot of, in terms of exams, it was self-study. So you'd get time off, but you'd have to go and sort of learn it off your own back. You'd get materials, but it was read through these books, watch these videos. And personally, I just don't learn in that sort of sense. Whereas at my new firm, it's very much they'll send you to college, they'll put in the extra time and effort, they'll give you the time that you need. When you're off for studying, you are off. They don't pester you with any sort of queries or anything. And there's just more support. And I do think it's more the type of place where if you need that extra bit of help, so say you need a tutor, they'll help out with that in some way. They might not completely cover it, but you're getting more support than I ever got before.
Fantastic. And I mean, when you were looking, obviously, for where you are, did you explore other options, have many other conversations?
Yes. So I, through you, had another interview with a much smaller firm, but I made the decision at the time that actually going that small wasn't the right move for me. I wanted to keep in a bigger practice with more of a presence, but I wanted to sort of move out of that top 10 bracket. So I've ended up here. I also, off my own back, made a couple of sort of requests to some of the bigger firms, thinking at the time that was what I wanted to stay in. But I found that either they weren't interested because of the exam fails, they wanted the whole transcript and it was just a no-go, or they were interested, but it was very much, we're going to completely drop your salary, you're going to be in a far lesser role, and you are going to have to sit the exams off your own back. And I found that I don't have the money or the time to go and do all that completely off my own back.
Not a lot of people do, especially when they're trying to balance that with a work-life balance with audit as well, as you can probably imagine. Yeah. So it sounds fantastic. It sounds like you're getting the support that you wanted, which is great. Obviously, it's great to hear from us, our end as well. Would you what piece of advice would you give for someone maybe looking into the wider market due to an exam fail at their current firm?
I think you just need to be honest about yourself. When you go to the interviews, you're still you. You've still got the experience you've got. They're not solely focused on your exams and your fails. So just be honest about that, so that they'll pick up on if you're sort of hiding something from them. But also to not lose hope, because I kind of found when I first had the meeting and knew I was leaving my previous firm, it was scary. It was like, what am I going to do? Like, I can't live here by myself without this income. Where am I going to go? Yeah. And I thought that no one's going to take me because I have got all these fails. And actually, I found out reasonably quickly, especially with your help, that actually firms can overlook that. And that's not always an issue. So I think that's the big one. Just take that time to breathe about it and think, actually, no, this isn't the end of the world. There is another step for me here.
Okay. Would you give a similar kind of advice for maybe a candidate who's looking at leaving their training contract, not due to an exam fail, but potentially because they feel like that cog in the machine you were talking about earlier on?
Yeah, I would. The caveat I would say to that is a lot of firms do have some kind of contract in place where if you leave early off your own back, then you have to sort of repay some of the fees that they've paid towards you. But I know from talking to a lot of other people who have actually done that the new firm quite often will pick up that cost because they'd have had to pay it anyway if you'd have started there. And it is a competitive market. Everywhere's looking and trying to get everyone at this sort of level because it is a high staff turnover and they want the staff. So if you've got the experience and they like you as a person, if you want that change and feel that's right for you, then definitely do it. There's quite a few juniors who work for me who they have done that and they've come from a different firm and they're much happier here than they were in their previous firm.
Oh, that's fantastic. You've been I'm sure you've been a massive help to other people in similar situations, and I really appreciate your time today, Miles. Thanks for that.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Have a lovely day, and hopefully catch up soon.
Thank you, and you too.